Hey guys, what's up? This is Marathon Training episode 4. So it's been about 2 months since my last episode, a little bit of a gap in time. So I just wanted to update you on some of the things that are going on with training, and I'm officially about, I think, 11 days out from my marathon. So it's coming up really fast. The last episode I did was before I got sick. So I got really sick. It was in mid-December. I got the flu and was down for an entire week. I actually had a fever for about 3 days, which prevented me from being able to run. So my training modified a little bit in December. I took off almost an entire week from running. I did do a couple runs towards the end of my sickness, but it was like 30 minutes of jogging. You know, I modified my long run on the weekend and then kind of just got back into training. So the last time I was talking, I had just grabbed my vest. I know I showed you guys my running vest, which I've been using consistently. I love that vest. It has not caused me any issues as far as running or chafing. It's super comfortable. I'm able to carry water and G1M electrolytes on my chest, which is so nice. And then I just put my phone in the back of the bag. I never look at my phone when I'm running. I just like having it with me just in case I were to have to stop or any reason that I might need my phone with me. So training otherwise has been going really well. I was worried with the setback in December that I wasn't going to see the improvements that I had desired. And after I came back from that, I really started to see improvements happening pretty quickly as far as my running pace, being able to run faster while keeping my heart rate down. And one thing that I found super interesting is that as my pace has increased, it didn't feel like I was running faster. Like I still feel like when I go out that I'm still running a similar pace to what I was running originally when I started. So when I started training for the marathon, my pace was anywhere between a 10-minute 15 seconds to 10-minute 45-second pace was what I needed to hold to keep my heart rate in zone 2. So if I started dipping down under that 10-minute pace, I couldn't keep my heart rate in zone 2. And so that was really challenging for me mentally because I desired, you know, I've talked about it that I do desire to run a 4-hour marathon. That is like the ultimate goal of what I would want to achieve. And so a 10-minute pace or above a 10-minute pace would not make that happen. It would definitely be over 4 hours. So I tried to, you know, just remind myself I was running, to trust the process, trust that I needed to run at that pace within the zone 2 threshold, whatever that was, to maintain that. And so what's really cool is over time, right, I started getting to the 3-month mark of training. We expect these changes to happen soon. I'm not gonna lie, I really was like, after running for a month, I thought I was gonna start significantly improving. Although I was seeing small improvements, it wasn't what I had hoped to see. So 3 months into training, I really started seeing improvements. I started running. I don't even remember the first run that I was like in the low 9s, and I just couldn't believe it because I was still running at what was considered an easy pace or zone 2, but my pace was like a minute faster than what I had been running before. And then I really hit a turning point a couple weeks ago. I did my first long run that was done based on pace instead of just easy. So most of my all of my long runs leading up until that 17-mile run was based on my heart rate. So keeping my heart rate in zone 2, whatever the pace was, run that distance. So I done a couple, you know, a 13, a couple 14s, and then my 17-mile run was the focus was run. I think I started out with 6 miles easy, and then I would alternate between, the last 11 miles of the goal was an 8:45 pace and a 9:45 pace. So my coach, Jeff Cunningham, he had based that off of my previous runs before. I was around that 9:15 pace. So I was going in between those paces. What happened was I went out on that run and, you know, I was super nervous. I was super excited. I felt really good in the first 6 miles of the run. And I was running like a sub 9, so maybe like an 8:45-ish pace. And as I got into that 7th mile where I was supposed to start at 8:45 pace, I don't know what happened. I just, competitive mode Tasia got on. I felt really good. Obviously, my body was ready for it. And I was running about an 8:35 pace on those fast miles. and then about a 9:05-ish to 9:10 pace on those slow miles. So I was able to maintain that for the 17 miles back and forth. I was so excited that I was just able to do that. And I think the finishing pace was an 8:50 overall for the 17 miles when it came down to it. So that was the good part of the 17-mile run. The bad part is that at about mile 13, my foot started really bothering me. And if y'all have followed me for a while, I've talked about how I have a sesamoid fracture in my right foot. I've had it since 2016, so many years now. And I've tried to heal it on a couple of occasions. I've been in a boot twice trying to heal it. I actually got a stress fracture on the outside of that same foot. That's how I originally found out I even had the sesamoid fracture, is I was having, pretty bad pain in the outside of my foot. I went and got an x-ray, and the doctor asked me if I ever had pain under my big toe. And I was like, yeah, all the time. I've had pain under this big toe for a long time. So that was the first instance of me seeing how my body was compensating for the pain under my big toes, what led to the stress fracture on the outside of my foot. So over the years, obviously our bodies are very intelligent. My body has figured out ways to compensate. I competed through, being at CrossFit Mayhem with the sesamoid fracture. I adjusted my training as needed to be. And I started seeing that I would get Achilles pain sometime on the opposite foot and things like that. So during the run at about mile 13, my foot, it hurts almost every run. It's just kind of normal. It's not anything crazy and painful, but I just feel the ache, and the ache slowly just builds and increases and gets worse. And I think the changing in paces, because I was speeding up and slowing down, is what really affected me on that 17-mile run. But at mile 13, my foot started hurting. And then by mile 14, my Achilles on the opposite foot started hurting. It felt like it was cramping. It was really weird. So for the last 3 miles, I kind of hobbled along because my body was trying to compensate for both pains on both my feet. And I finished the run. And although I was excited, in hindsight now, looking back, I've had a couple of weeks to reflect on the situation. And, I definitely should have stopped. You learn sometimes, I think, being a competitor, there's a fine line between pushing through injury and, knowing, having the wisdom and discernment to know when it was time to stop. So in that moment, my excitement for running that pace pushed me to keep going. And I think just naturally from my background, it's harder for me to stop than it is to keep going. And that's something that I'm taking into these next few, I've done with my last long run, but taking into the marathon, because health is my number one priority right now. I'm doing this marathon for fun. I'm no longer, competing in a sense that it's based on my livelihood or anything like that. So I'm really been prayerful about God giving me wisdom when I'm out on my runs, not only in this next 11 days leading up to the marathon, but in the marathon itself, because it's not worth it to me to seriously hurt my foot or something like that just to say I ran 26 miles. I know that I'm capable of running 26 miles as far as I've built the aerobic base, my legs feel strong, and all those things. So God willing, I will be able to run the 26. That is still my plan, that I'm gonna go for it. And I'm taking these next 11 days to just be really smart with my foot. Last weekend I did run 19 miles. I ran it at a steady pace rather than increasing, decreasing paces. And I felt like that was better. I still had foot pain, but the foot pain recovered pretty quickly over the course of 2 days. I was icing it, doing all the recovery things. I still definitely have pain, so I'm being really smart, taking down some of my runs to lower distances or less days. So instead of running 5 days this week, I'll probably run 2 to 3, and then, utilize the gym and the machines to do cardio and things like that, as well as a little bit of strength that I'm still doing to just maintain a healthy body leading up to the marathon. So it's crazy. The time has gone very fast. I can't believe it's almost here. I'm so stoked. I've learned so much about just training aerobically, that that's been cool looking back to my career in CrossFit, how if I had known some of the things that I know now, I think it would have really benefited me in the CrossFit space. But, you know, although I can't go back and use it, it's still cool to be like, oh, wow, like have the realization of just training in these easier zones is going to make a difference. And it's really challenging because most of us think we need to push ourselves all the time, every day, to the limit, to see change. And although you do need intensity, you do need to be challenging yourself, we don't have to do that all the time to see benefits from not only running, but exercising and things like that. So 11 days out. This will be my last video until marathon video that James is gonna help me with a little bit, just like a little vlog style of us going to Austin, seeing the whole BPN crew, running the marathon under Team BPN, and just having a great time in Texas, seeing some really cool friends, and things like that. So some things that have been really incremental on my long runs since before the last video I did, I think my longest run might've been around 10 miles, and now I'm running almost double that with like a 17, 19 miles. I'm gonna show you guys some of the stuff I use. So I love having In Focus and electrolytes in the morning before my long runs. I'm obsessed with strawberry. They came out with strawberry a couple months ago and is my by far the favorite. Like that'll be the only one I ever order. This In Focus is lemon lime. It mixes great with the strawberry, and I love In Focus because the caffeine content is less than Flight, which Flight is great too. I can only take a half scoop of Flight though because it has 300 milligrams of caffeine. That's just too much for me. I know my body will like shaking going out. So that's usually what I have beforehand, before the morning of long runs. And then I always take in my water bottle 1 scoop of G1M with me. So I'm drinking this as I'm running. I've got water, and I usually try and take a drink every, little bit, mostly after I take in a Humagel. So I've been doing a Humagel. These are 3 different flavors. I got apple cinnamon. I think this was apple cinnamon. Yes, strawberries and blueberries. These things are delicious. They're easy to take down. No stomach discomfort when I have those. And, they're just great for running. You can pull them out, rip off the top, put the garbage in, and I usually do like 1. It takes me like 3 squeezes to get through the whole thing. So 1, keep running, 2, 3, to finish it. And those have been super convenient to have. Learning to eat and ingest calories while running is challenging, but it's been a cool thing for me to just kind of test out. Luckily, I got really lucky with the Humagels that they didn't affect my stomach in any way. They're easy to take down, and I really loved that. So yeah, it's basically here. I got a new pair of shoes. I've broken them in. They're ready to go for the marathon. My strength has really come down. I think that's been mentally a challenge for me as far as doing my strength workouts with the marathon training is I always hit 2 a week. But just really recognizing that my physical strength right now, as far as squatting and deadlifting and things like that, is very low in comparison to what I've experienced in the last decade of my life. But it was necessary to build my body in a different way to run well. So marathon is almost here. We got 11 days to go, and then, my number 1 goal is to finish the marathon healthy, complete it, do it, my foot, to make it through, and then my number 2 goal would be to run sub 4. And, I'm hopeful. I am at a point where I know it'll take near perfect execution for me to run sub 4. That means not going out too fast, making sure I'm fueling properly, I'm staying in my lane, doing my run and not getting worked up with the crowd or people there, which I've had a lot of practice in doing that. So I'm hopeful in that regard. I also know that, I'm a realist in a sense of there is a level of training that has to be done to be able to run a certain pace or do a certain thing. You can't just will yourself to do it. And so I know my mind is ready to run sub 4. If it's a matter of mental fortitude, then I'll be able to do it. But if my body is not physically there for the 26 miles, it's not going to be, that is not going to just, magically happen. There's no magic, right? I might not physically be at a point aerobically to do that, and we're gonna find out. So my goal really is to execute to perfection. I've broken the marathon in. I've been thinking about it into like 6-mile increments. So execute the first 6 miles to the best of my ability. You know, don't go out too fast, maintain the pace I desire to hold, make sure I'm fueling at the right times, you know, focus on a relaxed stride, all these things. And then once I get through the 6 miles, I'm going to execute from 6 to 12. What's the next goal from there? How do we adjust in between there if there needs to be adjustment, and just being very aware of the run and also enjoying it. You know, this has been a really cool process. I've learned a lot. I'm glad I did it. I'll be glad to take a little bit of a break from running. I'm not gonna lie. I'm ready to get under a barbell and lift some weights too. So it's been really cool, and I'm so happy you guys have been along for the journey. So if you have any questions as far as the marathon goes, leading up, I'm 11 days out. We are gonna vlog it a little bit, so you'll see just the race and what's going on, and yeah, I'm super stoked. So let me know, stay tuned for the next and final episode of Marathon Training.